Setting up analytical environment and managing computational power. Create notebook server. To create new analytical environment, from List of Resources page, click on Create New button. Create Analytical Tool pop-up will show up. User can choose a preferable analytical tool to be set up. Adding new analytical tools is supported by DLab's architecture, so you can expect new templates to show up in upcoming releases. Currently, by means of DLab, users can select between any of the following templates: Jupyter, Zeppelin, RStudio, TensorFlow, which is basically Jupyter plus a TensorFlow, Deep Learning, Jupyter plus MXNet, Caffe, Caffe2, TensorFlow, Theano, CNTK, Torch, and Keras included. After specifying desired template, you should fill in the name and instance shape. Name field is just for visual differentiation between analytical tools on List of Resources dashboard. Instance shape drop-down contains configurable list of shapes which should be chosen depending on the type of analytical work to be performed. Following groups of instance shapes will be showing up with the default setup configuration: memory optimized, GPU optimized, compute optimized, and others. These groups have t-shirt based shapes, which is also configurable. It can help data scientists to either save money and leverage not very powerful shapes for working with relatively small datasets, or that could boost the performance of analytics by selecting more powerful instance shape. Please refer to official documentation from Amazon or any cloud provider that will help you understand what instance shapes would be most preferable in your particular DLab setup. Also, you can use any kind of cloud calculator to roughly estimate the cost of your environment. After you select the template, please fill in the name and choose needed instance shape. You need to click on Create button for your instance to start creating. Corresponding record will show up in your dashboard and will obtain Creating status. As soon as Notebook Server is created, its status will change to Running. When you click on the name of your analytical tool in the dashboard, Analytical Tool pop-up will show up. In the header, you will see version of analytical tool, its status and shape. In the body of the dialog, uptime, analytical tool URL, Git UI tool, S3 buckets for all users, S3 buckets that has been provisioned for your needs. This is for AWS deployed version of DLab. To access analytical tool web UI, you need to configure SOX proxy. Please follow the steps described on read instruction on how to set up the tunnel, wiki page to configure SOX proxy for Windows, Mac, or Linux machines. This instruction is available on Analytical Tool Details screen. Manage additional libraries. Depending on the type of work you perform, you might need to install additional libraries and dependencies. On every analytical tool instance, you can install those by clicking on the gear icon in the Actions column for a particular notebook and hit Manage Libraries. You will need to wait a couple of seconds for the libraries installation process to be finished. After the list of libraries is loaded, you will see a window with two fields. First, field for selecting group of packages, whether it's apt or yum, Python 2, Python 3, R, and other groups. Another field is a field for search available packages with autocomplete function. Note, your apt and yum packages depend on your DLab OS family. Please also note that in group others you can find other Python 2 and 3 packages which haven't classifiers of their versions available. After specifying a needed library, you can see it on the right and could delete it from the list before you proceed with your installation. If you would like to confirm the installation process, click on Install button, and you will see the process of installation with appropriate statuses. Please note, if package can be installed, you will see Failed status in status column and button Retry will show up. If several packages failed to install, you will see a button Retry All. After successful installation, the corresponding library will show up in Info Grid of Manage Libraries pop-up, and their status will be changed to Successful. As soon as this library is installed, you can go directly to your analytical tool and start leveraging it. Stop notebook server. Once you have stopped working with an analytical tool and you would like to release AWS resources for the sake of the costs, you might want to stop the notebook itself. You will be able to start the notebook again after a while and proceed with your analytics. To stop the notebook, click on gear icon in the Actions column for a needed notebook and hit Stop. Hit OK on confirmation message. Note: if any clusters have been connected to a notebook server, they will be automatically terminated if you stall the notebook, and there is a separate confirmation message that will prompt you. After you confirm you intend to stop the notebook, the status will be changed to stopping and will become stopped in a while. All associated clusters will change their status to terminated. Terminate notebook server. Once you have finished working with an analytical tool you would like to release all the cloud resources for the sake of the costs, you might want to terminate the notebook. You will not be able to start the notebook which has been terminated before. Instead, you will have to create a new notebook server if you will need to proceed your analytical activities further. To terminate the notebook, click on the gear icon in the Actions column for a needed notebook and hit Terminate. Please note that if any clusters have been linked with your notebook server, they will be automatically terminated if you click on Terminate button near the notebook. Please confirm termination of the notebook and afterwards notebook status will be changed to terminating. Once corresponding instances have been terminated in cloud, status will be finally changed to terminated. Deploy EMR. After deploying notebook node, you can deploy EMR cluster and it will be automatically linked with your notebook server. EMR cluster is a managed cluster platform that simplifies running big data frameworks such as Apache Hadoop and Apache Spark on AWS to process and analyze vast amounts of data. Adding EMR is not mandatory and is needed in case computational resources are required for job execution. To deploy EMR, click on Actions menu near Notebook and click on Deploy EMR. On Create Computational Resource pop-up, you will have to choose EMR version, which is also configurable, and specify alias for EMR cluster. To specify a cluster that meets your needs, you will have to define two things. First of all, the total number of instances. Secondly, the master and slave instance shapes. Also, if you would like to save some costs for your EMR cluster, you can create EMR cluster based on spot instances, which are often available at a discount price. To do this, select Spot Instance checkbox and specify preferable bid for your spot instance in percentage between 20 and 90, which is configurable. Please note that when the current spot price rises above your bid price, the spot instance is reclaimed by AWS so that it can be given to another customer. Please make sure to backup your data on a periodic basis if using spot instances. Once you've filled in all needed fields, click on Create button. EMR cluster creation will kick off. You will see the corresponding record on DLab Web UI in status. Computational Resources column will acquire one new record, the one that you just added, and its status will be creating. Once EMR clusters are provisioned, their status will be changed to running. Click on EMR name in DLab dashboard. It will open EMR details pop-up. Since EMR cluster is up and running, you are now able to leverage cluster computational power to run your analytical jobs on it. To do that, open any of the analytical tools web interface and select proper kernel or interpreter. In Jupyter, to do this, go to kernel and choose preferable interpreter between local and EMR ones. Currently, we have added support of Python 2, Python 3, Spark, Scala, R into Jupyter. Zeppelin. Go to Interpreter binding menu and switch between local and EMR. Once needed interpreter is selected, click on Save button. To start working with particular interpreter and programming language in Zeppelin, insert following magics before blocks of your code to start executing your analytical jobs. Spark for Scala and Spark, PySpark, PySpark 3 for Python 2 or Python 3 running on top of Spark, Spark R for R. RStudio. To switch between local and EMR in RStudio, open our environment file and comment out opt Spark and switch it to EMR and vice versa to switch from local to remote kernels. Terminate EMR. To release cluster computational resources, click on X button close to EMR cluster alias in Computational Resources column. Confirm decommissioning of EMR by hitting Yes. In a while, EMR cluster will get terminated. Corresponding EC2 instances will also be removed from AWS. Collaboration space. Manage Git credentials. To work with GitLab or GitHub via UI tool on Git, you could add multiple credentials in DLab UI, which will be set on all running instances of your analytical tools. When you click on the button Git Credentials, the pop-up will show up, where you will need to fill in your hostname, username, email, login, password, and password confirmation. Your Git server hostname should be filled without HTTP or HTTPS, for example, gitlab.com, github.com, or your internal GitLab server, which can be deployed with DLab. Your username and email. These are used to display author of commit in Git. Your login and password for authorization into Git server. Please note, if you have GitLab server which was deployed with DLab, you should use your LDAP credentials to access GitLab. Once all fields are filled in and you click on Assign button, you will see the list of all your Git credentials. Clicking on Apply Changes button, your credentials will be sent to all running instances of analytical tools. It will take a few seconds for changes to be applied. On this tab, you can also edit your credentials. To do this, click on pen icon or delete. Click on bin icon. Git UI tool or on Git. On each and every analytical tool instance, you can see Git UI tool URL on the details pop-up. Once you click on Git URL, you will have to configure your working directory. To do this, please specify home/DLab user for Jupyter and others, or opt Zeppelin/notebook for Zeppelin analytical tool and press on Enter button. Please note that Zeppelin already uses Git for local versioning of files, so you can add upstream for all notebooks. After changing working directory, you can create a repository, or in a better way, just clone existing ones. After creating a repository, you can see all commits and branches. On the top of the window in the red, UI will show us unchanged or new files to commit. You can uncheck or add some files to Git ignore. Please note that Git always checks your credentials. If this is your first commit after adding or changing credentials and after clicking on commit button nothing happened, just click on commit button again. On the right pane of the window, you also can see buttons to fetch last changes of repository, add upstreams, and switch between branches. To see all modified files, click on the circle button on the center. After commit, you will see your local version of remote repository. To push your changes, click on your current branch and press Push button. Also, clicking on Circle button, you can uncommit or revert changes. DLab's Health Status page. Health Status page is an administrative page allowing users to start, stop, recreate the gateway node. It might be useful for cases when gateway node was accidentally corrupted or terminated by someone directly through web console of any cloud provider. Please make sure that before execution any of your analytical code or provisioning any environment, that your gateway node status is running, meaning the icon at the top right corner of the screen is green. For the sake of the resources, you can temporarily stop your edge node. To do this, go to Environment Health Status page, click on corresponding actions icon near your edge node, and click on Stop. To stop edge node, please click on Actions menu in the Health Status page and hit on Stop. Confirm that you want to stop edge node by clicking Yes. In case your edge node is stopped or terminated, you will have to start or recreate it correspondingly to proceed working with DLab. This can be done as well via Context Actions menu. DLab's Billing Report. On this page, you can see all billing information and costs associated with your environment. In the header, you will see service-based name of your particular DLab installation. You can see resource tag ID and date for which the report is available. On the center of your header, you can see the date picker. Just go into it and specify the date range you would like your report to be rendered for. You can also filter your data by each column. Please note that only users added to administrative group on LDAP can see billing reports for all users, and only that user can see the user column. In the footer of billing report, you can see total costs associated with your environment. List of resources in grid filtering. You can leverage the functionality of in-grid filtering to filter your analytical list by any of the needed parameter, either by environment name or by status, by shape, by computational resources. Once your list is filtered by any of the columns, the corresponding icon will change, meaning that filtering criteria has been applied to corresponding column. There is also an option to quickly and easily filter out all inactive instances, either failed or terminated, by clicking on Show Active button in the ribbon. To switch back to the list of all resources, simply click on Show All.